아쉬워 벌써 12시 어떻게 벌써 12시네 보내주기 싫은걸 알고 있어 how you feeling 음악에 맞춰 사랑을 속삭이고 싶어 솔직히 우리들 마음이 같은 걸 같은 생각인 걸 알고 있는데 더 이상은 솔직할 수 없는 걸
What is up, the St. Patriots? My name is Danny Kim, and welcome to another episode of Danny from the Soul. I think it's episode 15. Today it is February 1st, but it'll probably be still January. I'm recording this right now because I'm hoping that the January patrons can view this before the month goes to February. And the opening song was Gotta Go by Sunmi. It's a very popular song in Korea right now. And I picked this song because the Korean title for this song is actually Already 12. 벌써 12시. It means already 12 or already midnight. But 12시 means 12. And right now it's 11 a.m. nearing 12. And I am very, very sleep deprived. I had a tattoo yesterday. I'm sure you guys, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you probably seen it already. It's a David Bowie tattoo. Very awesome. And initially the tattoo artist said that the tattoo would take about 2 to 3 hours. So I went in at about 7:30 p.m. yesterday, thinking that I would, take the train home. And then he started saying, "Oh, first let's have dinner because this just might take a while." And believe it or not, the 2 to 3 hour tattoo ended up becoming like a 9-hour tattoo, 8-hour tattoo. We finished past 4 a.m. When I exited the tattoo shop. It was like nearly 5 a.m. And I was dead exhausted, but the artist and I also were very, very satisfied. The level of detail on the tattoo is amazing. And if you want to see it, go check out my Instagram at Gyumstagram, Gyum Stagram. I linked the tattooist Instagram ID there, so you can perhaps get one if you're in Korea. So the reason I got a David Bowie tattoo is because his song Space Oddity is a very inspirational song for me. It inspired me to quit my job when I used to work in a music company and go on a bike trip across America, because that song is about adventure. It's like David Bowie wrote a song about going to the moon before anybody went to the moon. This was actually released, I think 3 months before the Apollo mission to the moon. So yeah, it's a song about adventure, and it's a song that gives me courage to take steps that might seem impossible or unthinkable, and just do it. So it's a very meaningful song, and my tattoo is David Bowie in a spacesuit, like Space Oddity. So very, very much enjoying the tattoo, and would definitely recommend that artist. Him taking so long was not because he was unskilled. This dude is very, very famous in Korea and internationally. Actually, a lot of ducks suggested me this tattoo artist. That's why I went here. And he just really liked this. He really wanted to do a David Bowie tattoo, and now this was his chance. So he really wanted to make it perfect, and he was really satisfied. So I'm really satisfied too. This is something that goes on your body permanently. So might as well get one that's done with a lot of care and attention, and be sleep deprived than have a shitty one and sleep well, right? Anyway, had a 9 a.m. live radio guest spot today. So I basically was debating whether I should stay up or sleep, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to wake up. But then my body just gave in and I just fell asleep. So about 2 hours on sleep, and then radio, and then now podcast. It's okay, guys. This is my job, and this is how it works. So starting off, there's actually today's podcast is a little bit sad, because I wanted to pick something that was not included in DK News, something more that is a topic of Korean society but not related to pop culture too much, because we already cover all that stuff in DK News now. So this incident was the topic of discussion for about the last 2 weeks, and it's an incident where a Korean college student fell down the Grand Canyon while taking pictures, and he is now currently in a coma. And first of all, that video was pretty shocking, him falling down the Grand Canyon. Somebody shot a video of that and uploaded it. But the big controversy was one of his relatives apparently put up a petition on the Blue House petition board, saying basically, please help our this boy, because he's currently in a coma in hospitalized in Flagstaff, Arizona, and the medical bills that he's accumulated over the past 2 weeks has been more than $1 million. And it's going to take about $200,000 to bring him back to Korea. So, like, just in 2 weeks, this family has been burdened with a medical bill of $1.2 million. And they're having trouble getting that money. So one of the relatives put up a petition saying, hey, please help this person out, because he's in deep trouble and his family is having trouble paying for the medical bills. So maybe if the government could help us, that would be great. And initially, a lot of the people were kind of supportive of this person. But then people found out that it was like a little bit half and half initially. Like, some people were saying, oh, we should help this person out, like he's a poor college kid. People felt bad for him. And the other half was like, he was on travel. He was trying to, take pics, and just went a little too far with trying to take pics, cool pics in the Grand Canyon. And it was a little half and half. But then people found out that this is the power of the Korean internet. People found out who he was, and they found his sister's Instagram. And on his sister's Instagram, there were like a lot of Gucci bags and, shoes, belts, all these of expensive brands. And people just instantly turned very hostile towards this petition and also this family. Because now, like, the most of the public opinion is like, it leans towards not helping him out, especially with tax money, because he was traveling overseas. First of all, like, traveling overseas, yes, it's a very common thing to do, but still, a lot of people think, especially if you're traveling all the way to North America, a lot of Korean people think that you have to be super privileged to have the opportunity to travel to North America. And I guess, like, not everybody can afford it. That is a good point. Like, trips to North America is expensive. And this student who fell down, was studying abroad in Canada for a year. And, not everybody can afford that. Not everybody has the privilege to do that. So people were like, hey, this guy's rich. must be a rich family because he travels overseas, studies overseas, and his sister has Gucci belts on her Instagram. So must be a rich family. Why are you asking us for help? Is basically the sentiment. And yeah, so the entire public opinion just turned to that direction. And this whole discussion was like on whether it's within the government's responsibilities to help this person out, because there are cases where the government has helped out people in need when they have an accident overseas, or when they're captured by terrorists and stuff like that. And like the thing is, apparently the government doesn't know what to do. They're in a very tricky situation because basically they don't really have a strict guideline for when they do come in to help out these people. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs have openly said that it's a case-by-case thing, and they don't really know if they're supposed to help out this person or not. And the thing is, I think they're not going to end up helping this person out because it's like the public opinion is so negative. Like some of the comments are like along the sentiments of like, why are they paying off his hospital fees with our money when most of us can't even travel overseas? And I think like Koreans have a very strong repulsion against people studying overseas because they automatically like label them as very rich and affluent people. And I mean, I guess like I experienced this as well because I lived with my family in Canada for 5 years. And that's a very privileged thing. Like I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity, thanks to my father, who his company called him up in Canada. So like I think I'm very privileged and I'm very grateful to have an experience that most Koreans cannot experience in their lifetime. And I'm making a living off of my English skills. I guess like if I never been to Canada, I probably wouldn't be making videos in English. So I'm open to a whole new world of opportunities thanks to my experiences living and growing up in Canada. However, at the same time, it really bugs me when they automatically label me as a super rich person because I lived in Canada. And that applies to everybody else. Like people who lived overseas, they're like automatically, oh, she must be a rich family. I mean, statistically, like you're probably on the better side of the median if you're living overseas, if you have lived overseas. And I think our family is, upper middle class, if I would label it. But at the same time, like consider this, like $1.2 million is a big amount of money. I don't think my family, I don't think, my family cannot afford that. They would be in huge debt. And my family, like, my family is not rich at all. Like, we're better off than most people, but it's not like we have huge mansions. In fact, my parents took like 20 years to buy a house in Seoul. That was their first house that they ever bought. And like it's kind of sad when people just label you as that rich person when you're not really rich. If I was rich, I would have no problem with it. If I was actually rich, where's my Lamborghini, right? But no, yeah. So that's the sentiment right now. Do I think the government should help this person out? I'm unsure, to be honest. I'm unsure because I feel really, really bad for the kid and the family. This is a terrible situation. But at the same time, if we start using tax money to help out like these kind of accidents that happen, probably there's a lot of people that have gone through similar situations. And once we start helping out one person, then the boundaries start becoming really gray, and it's just like that's a lot of tax money to be spent. And while I do think like I'm really really empathetic for these people, um, we cannot be spending our tax money to cover accidents every single time. That's why there's insurance, right? That's why there's insurance companies out there that's doing that. I don't think that's really within the government's duties, unless like they've been captured by terrorists or something. That's like kind of out of their hands, right? So unless it's some like serious situation where they've been captured by terrorists, which actually has happened, and also people acted very negatively towards it, because there was an incident in 2007 or something, like more than a decade ago, I believe, where some missionaries from a church went into, I think it was Afghanistan, some Muslim country in the Middle East. I believe it was Afghanistan, and it was actually the government actually told them, don't go there because it's a dangerous area, especially if you're a missionary, if you're a Christian missionary. You know, like you don't want to be doing that shit there. It's very dangerous. But then they went there still and ended up being captured by terrorists. I think it was like for 3 weeks, and the terrorists requested like tens of millions of dollars, and our government eventually caved in. That was, I think, the biggest ransom the government has paid ever towards. I think that was the only time they paid a ransom towards a terrorist, if I'm correct. So yeah, that received a lot of negative responses from the public, because first of all, those people were going to places where the government had already told them not to go, and secondly, the government paid terrorists a shit ton of money. So like with that precedent, I think even more so, people are kind of repulsive towards helping out these people who are caught up in tricky situations overseas, along with negative sentiment towards people who study overseas and think they're rich. So poor dude. I really hope he recovers, and I really hope his family finds a way. I think the best way right now would be to set up a fundraiser. Though with the negative public opinion, I don't know how many people would partake in that. It just seems really crazy, and like the medical bills in America are just insane. I remember one time when I was biking in America, I was stuck in the Mojave Desert, and I was running out. I ran out of water, and it was like 47 degrees Celsius. And I was pretty sure I was gonna die, because like the next town was hours away. So I was calling 911, and I specifically said, okay, I'm not in a medical emergency, because I knew that if I called an ambulance, they would charge me like $1,000 or something, right? My mom had told me that many times. So I was like, okay, I can't afford an ambulance. So yeah. Anyway, that's that. Very sad news. But moving on to the next news. I think the mic is popping. If so, I really apologize. David borrowed the mic that I usually use, so I'm using a different mic, and I don't think this is. I can hear popping noises, but that might just be me. This will be fixed next episode. Don't worry. Second news. Prosecutors. So there's this famous YouTuber. There's this famous Korean YouTuber named Yu Chang-ho. I'll just call him Mr. Yu, because that's convenient. Basically, he's got like 900k subscribers or something, and he's very famous in Korea. And what his main content is like doing pranks on swindlers, voice fishers, frauds, basically like just justice, serving justice towards people that are, criminals or people that are really annoying. And he also does fundraising. He makes videos to fundraise for people in need, like with serious illnesses. Recently, he did a fundraiser for a kid with leukemia and stuff like that do not have the money to pay for treatment. So he's like all around, people view him as the good guy. He's a really nice guy. I think he's really good-hearted and super generous person. He's like the Mr. Beast, but instead he's more like the charity version of Mr. Beast. Whereas Mr. Beast is like, look how much money I can spend on stupid shit. And in a recent video, he got sued. Basically. This is the news. And the reason is, recently in a video, he called out an old teacher. He called out a teacher that he used to have in grade 4 in elementary school, who had allegedly demanded bribe money from his parents when he was in grade 4. And this used to be a really common practice in Korea, like teachers asking parents for bribes, because back then teachers used to be seen as this position of very high authority. So there was a lot of respect. I mean, like, respect is a funny word when you're talking about a person who's asking for a bribe, but there was a lot of respect and also a lot of subordinates towards teachers back then. So bribe money was a very common practice in Korea towards teachers. And Mr. Yu said when his mother refused to give the teacher the bribe money that he requested, the teacher started picking on Mr. Yu, hitting him with shoes and calling him out to the rest of the class that he is receiving money from the government because he was in extreme poverty. So Mr. Yu, he's now, I think, very well off, but back then he wasn't living so well. So, like, he was ashamed, he was bullied because of this, and the teacher basically made his life shit, and he was really traumatized by this experience in grade 4. Like he's a kid then. And basically, Mr. Yu made a video calling the teacher out on these kind of things. And then he went to the school to confront him, to see if he is still doing the same practices on the students they have now. And this video, eventually, like, the teacher refused to meet him, and the school basically like shut down part of his website that put up the information about the teachers, worrying that like the teacher might, get attacked nationally. So they put down all that information and stuff like that. And the teacher was the one who sued Mr. Yu. He got sued for defamation, and prosecutors have demanded a sentence of 2 years in jail. So usually how it works is if prosecutors demand 2 years in jail, then the court verdict will likely be probation. It will likely be drastically lower than that, but I mean, like, if you agree to settle, then it'll likely be probation. So it's unlikely that Mr. Yu is going to jail, but at the same time, I just want to talk about this because like, Korean defamation laws are kind of nuts, I think. Because like, even if what is said about a person is true, it can still be punishable through defamation laws. So even if Mr. Yu, what he's claiming is completely true, like 100%, like the teacher did all these things, he can still be sued and punished for under defamation laws, because that's just how the Korean law works. And let me just read straight out of the law book. Under South Korea's criminal code, convictions on charges of criminal defamation using openly false facts can result in up to 7 years imprisonment, as well as a fine of 50 million Korean won, which is about 44,000 US dollars. But a public statement can also be completely true and still qualify as criminal defamation. So this is why I said yesterday about the Hello Counselor thing, in yesterday's live stream. A lot of people were saying, why don't you call this person out? Why don't you call him as he is? He's a sex offender. That's what a lot of people said. Well, what they don't get is, A, we don't want to regurgitate the arguments made on Twitter, but B, more importantly, we don't want to get our asses sued. Calling somebody a sex offender is a very serious claim to make when somebody has not even been accused of sexual crime yet. And that could potentially put us in very serious trouble regarding defamation laws. So that's a very serious claim to make. And if we do that, I don't know what would happen to him, but it probably won't be pretty. So I don't want to get our asses sued. First of all, it's that's a big no. I don't want to get my ass sued. I can't afford 44,000 US dollars. So, like I said yesterday, give us 44,000 US dollars, and I might consider it. But yeah, so even if I think that this part is the most worst part of this law is, even if it's completely true, it can still qualify as criminal defamation, because even under the UN Human Rights Committee, they discourage this exact clause from their International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, General Comment 34, regarding freedom of opinion and expression. It says, all such laws regarding defamation laws, in particular penal defamation laws, should include such defenses as the defense of truth, and they should not be applied with regard to those forms of expression that are not, of their nature, subject to verification. So, exposing somebody or calling out somebody, especially if they're not a public figure, is very tricky in Korea, because a lot of times what the person who's been exposed will do is sue the other person for defamation. And even if he or she's her claims are completely true, those laws still apply. And another reason why we blurred out the person in the Hello Counselor video, so people said, why are you blurring out this disgusting person's face? Expose him. Well, by exposing him, you're making sure that it's this exact person that we're talking about. And with that, it makes it suable. It makes it suable for the guy, because if you can't tell who it is, if the person is not identifiable, even in the video it's pretty identifiable, but if you can't tell who he is, then the defamation laws do not apply. But if you know if you can clearly tell who he is, if his distinctive features are shown, and B, your statement is made public in a public environment, like on YouTube videos, then defamation laws do apply. So, like saying, calling out, for example, an entire group of people would not result in a penalization under the defamation laws, because that's not an individual, that's a group of people, and you can't distinctly distinguish. They're not distinguishable, so that would not apply as defamation under defamation laws. But if you call out an individual, then those laws do apply. So if you're in Korea and you are calling out somebody, trying to expose somebody, be careful. Be careful before you do that. So yeah, it's a real shitty law, but law is law. So I just have to abide by it for now. But yeah, it's very shitty. It's a very shitty situation, and I feel really bad for the YouTuber. I feel really bad for the YouTuber because obviously, like, he wanted to call out a certain situation that had really traumatized him. I mean, think about it. If you're grade 4 and your teacher is picking on you and intentionally making you look bad in front of class, like that's a pretty frightening experience, right? So yeah, totally feel bad and totally shitty laws, and I really, really hope that this changes. Because man, it sucks. It sucks. It makes us really be careful when we're making YouTube videos. I think there were so many times, we never really mentioned this, but there were so many times when we were getting like emails of asking us to take down videos. I mean, like, I guess that's different. That's portrait rights. But anyway, there were so many times where we had to consider, like, oh, does this fall under defamation laws when we're calling out somebody or when we're talking about a certain thing. Like, for example, Seungri's case yesterday, we didn't want to talk about it because A, then not all the news had come out yet, and B, because if we jump to a conclusion and what we thought was completely different from the reality, then that just puts us even in a more liable situation for defamation, cases. So yeah, it really sucks. It really sucks. Doesn't it suck, guys? Does your country have something like this? Please tell me. Yeah, I would really like to know. Like, does your country have something like this? And last topic. Let's just finish this on a lighter note. I got a house, guys. Very exciting news. I think in last episode or 2 episodes ago, I was talking about how I was house hunting. Well, I finally found a house. It's right by Hongdae. It's like literally 10 seconds away from the metro station, which is amazing. And I initially picked, so like the building is huge and it's a pretty nicely kept house and apartment. And I initially picked the one that was bigger because it had a view on the road, but the problem was, like, I could hear faint noises from the road because that's like a 10-lane road that we're talking about here. So I was like, maybe this is gonna drive me crazy because I usually stay home all day, editing. I work from home most of the time, and if I constantly hear that noise, that might drive me crazy. So I picked the other side. It's a little smaller, but it's on the quieter side, so I really like it. I can see like the National Assembly, the Yuksam building. That's the tallest, or used to be the tallest building in Korea. Like right from my apartment, it has an amazing view. And I just can't wait to show it to you guys. The reason I moved is to become more independent. I just wanted to have my own space I love my parents, but I think it's about time I be independent. David thinks it's kind of stupid because I pay rent. It's pretty expensive. And considering like all the living costs, but right now I think like I can get through. I can get through. I can afford it. And also, I think you can't just think about the costs of living alone without thinking about the benefits, and which is not only like easier access to different places. That's one of the major reasons I moved, was because like from my house right now it has horrible public transportation, so it takes like 2 hours to get to Gangnam. From where I'm gonna live, move in, takes about what I'm online too, so Gangnam is like 30 minutes away. So that's amazing. I cut down 1.5 hours. So that's amazing, and I live right in front of the metro station. That's absolutely amazing. So like that was part of the reason. Another is I wanted to focus on my work, which also cannot be valued within monetary terms. I just like being in a space where there's other people around. I have trouble focusing. I like being very alone a lot. So that's another plus, and I think I will shoot more videos as a result of that. Like I'll be in the zone, I think, more. And another thing was that I needed fire under my ass. This is one of the biggest things. Like for me at least, when I'm thinking about my experiences, the past few years of my adult life, I think I strive better. I work harder and I achieve more when I do have a fire under my ass. So usually I'll burn the boats like the Spartans did when they went to war. They burn the boats. They land on the enemy's battlegrounds, and then they burn the boats so that they have nothing to return to, and they can only go forward. And that's kind of how I think I like to live. It's like like when I went biking, I was like, fuck my job, going biking, so burn the boat. And then when I went to YouTube, I was like, fuck looking for a job, fuck job seeking, I'm gonna burn the boat, and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, this isn't burning the boat, but it's more like when you have mom and dad around you, and that they're gonna help you out when you fall down. Like when you see them constantly, you have this comfort that you get, and that makes me a little bit complacent. Makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, which is not a bad thing. It can be a good thing. It is a good thing, but for me to strive, I think I need to be putting myself out there and just seeing how it goes, because with that safety net, I kind of have this mentality of, okay, oh, well, if things don't work out, my mom will help me out. I mean, I'm sure like she'll help me out regardless, even if I live alone, but still, like without seeing her every day, knowing that she's there, it's a lot more like you feel very much more independent, I will think. Plus you have to pay rent, so you have something that's like constantly taking money away from you. So that's a very big inspiration for me to achieve more in terms of business and in terms of personal growth. So very, very happy. And another happy thing is that there's a lot of YouTubers and friends that live nearby, and the area that I live in is a very hip area. So I'm looking forward to meeting new people there and going to interesting events, because the place I live right now, there's fucking nothing. There's nothing. And the place I lived before, there was nothing too. There was like there wasn't even a cafe for a while. Like the area that I lived in was kind of like the slummy area of Seoul, and it was like just full of old people. So there weren't really any interesting cultural things going on there. And so like when I was living there in Yeongdeungpo for like what, 7 years, 6 years? I think 7 years, yeah. When I was living there, because it was until last year, like October, that's when I moved here to DMC. When I was living there, it was like, damn, like when I make enough money, I'm going to live in a place that actually has people and actually has things going around, not an old people town. I mean, no offense against old people, but I just want to hang out with people around my age, right? Like I want to live in the bustling part of town, and right now I'm going there, so very, very happy, very, very excited to give you guys the house tour, the MTV cribs of the smallest apartment ever. But you guys will like it, I'm sure. And gotta save up some money for the furniture, but oh yeah, we're gonna do furniture shopping. I forgot. Yeah, we're furniture YouTubers. We used to be for that one day. So we're gonna return as furniture YouTubers, and that's about it for today. For the very last song, I picked a song. What was it? Oh, I forgot. It was an EXO song. I think it was called Dreaming. It'll start playing right now, I hope. And I picked this song because I'm dreaming. Like I'm living my dream right now. And I'm dreaming of a bigger future now that I'm going independent. And B, because I'm gonna hopefully go to sleep. Maybe get like 30 minutes of sleep before David comes and we shoot DK News now. But yeah, thanks again for joining this sleep deprived podcast. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I say that every single time on every single episode. But how was it? Tell me how it was. Did I sound sleepy? And also, thank you once again for supporting us, Ducks and Patreons, YouTube people. You guys rock. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Good night.
별들마저 잠이 드는 늦은 밤 외로이 뜨는 달 살며시 창가에 내려와 비춰주며 잠이 든 널 꿈꾸게 해 신고 내게 다가와 수줍은 모습으로 내 품에 안겨웃고 내 She's dreaming 달빛에 짙게 물든 밤 유일한 우리의 시간 꿈에 나타나 단둘이 함께하곤 했어 순진한 아이 같은 널 보면 근슬에 나까지 웃게 돼 미치겠어 욕심 부리고 싶어 널 품에 안고 사랑한다 말하는 것도 웃기지 아침 비 오면 또 기억 못할 텐데 난 잊혀질까 겁나 No come back 깊은 밤이 끝날 때면 연기처럼 난 희미하게 사라져